The Lakers bench is kinda awesome. The Lakers bench has been holding its own since Luka stepped on the floor. They're 9th in points per game, which is solid for a second unit. They're not exactly lighting up the scoreboard, but they're definitely contributing at a respectable level. Shooting efficiency has been decent too. They're sitting at 12th in field goal percentage, so they're hitting shots at an average clip. It's not elite, but it's not dragging the team down either. Now, where they've really stood out is beyond the arc. They're 4th in three-pointers made, which is huge for a bench unit. Hitting that many threes means they're stretching the floor and keeping defenses honest. And it's not just volume, they're knocking them down at a high clip too, ranking 10th in three-point percentage. They're not just chucking, they're actually making them. From the free throw line, they've been steady, ranking 8th in free throws made. They're getting to the line and capitalizing, which is always a plus. You never want to leave points on the board, and they're making sure to cash in when they get to the stripe. On the glass, they've been active. 6th in offensive rebounds, 7th in defensive rebounds, and 6th in total rebounds. They're battling on the boards, getting second chance opportunities, and making sure they're not giving up extra possessions. That's exactly what you want from a bench unit. Hustle and effort are showing up. Big time. Playmaking has been middle of the pack, sitting at 12th in assists per game. They're moving the ball, but it's not exactly a strength. They could be creating more, but they're not hurting the team either. As long as they're keeping the ball moving and not turning it over, it's fine. Defense, they're 9th in steals. That's a great spot for a bench unit. They're active in passing lanes, disrupting offenses, and creating transition opportunities. It's not just about scoring. They're bringing energy on both ends. This bench has been doing its job. They're hitting shots, rebounding, getting to the line, and playing solid defense. They're not elite, but they're making an impact. And they have a bunch of players I want to talk about specifically. We're going to assume the starters are Luka, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, and Hayes, because that's the lineup they've used since Luka played. So first, I want to talk about one of my favorite players, Vando. Jared Vanderbilt is the definition of a defensive anchor. The Lakers rely on his energy, hustle, and relentless effort on that end of the floor. And the numbers prove just how valuable he's been. His defensive rating is sitting at 110.9, which puts him ahead of more than 94% of players in the league. That's not just solid, that's elite level defense. He's constantly disrupting opposing offenses, contesting shots, and making life miserable for whoever he's guarding. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, let's talk about his mixed team defense ranking. He's stopping players individually and helping the Lakers shut down teams as a whole. More than 88% of players in the league don't even come close to having the kind of defensive impact he does. That means when Vanderbilt is on the floor, the Lakers are significantly better at stopping their opponents from scoring. And the proof is in the plus-minus numbers. He's been on the court for games where the Lakers finished with a positive point differential 77.8% of the time. That's an insane rate. If he's in the game, the Lakers have a much better chance of winning. And it's because of how he locks down opponents. His on-off numbers paint the picture even clearer. When he's off the floor, the team's point difference actually drops by 2.4. That might not seem like much, but over the course of a season, that swing can be the difference between wins and losses. He's more impactful on defense than 88% of the league, and there's no way the Lakers can replace what he brings. And let's not forget his ability to create chaos. He's averaging 1.2 steals per game, which might not sound like a lot, but his presence in passing lanes and ability to pick pockets makes a real difference. He's not just standing around waiting for mistakes, he's forcing them. Opposing ball handlers know that if they're being guarded by Vanderbilt, they've got to be extra careful because he's always ready to swipe the ball away. Now, shot blocking isn't exactly his specialty, but that doesn't mean he isn't protecting the rim. He's only averaging 0.1 blocks per game, but his ability to contest shots and force bad looks doesn't always show up in the box score. Sometimes, just having him on the floor is enough to make opponents second-guess their shots. Rebounding? That's where he really shows out. He's averaging 6.1 rebounds per game, ranking higher than 97% of players in the league. He's constantly battling for boards, making sure the Lakers get extra possessions on offense and preventing second chance opportunities on the other end. And his mix of offensive and defensive rebounding numbers proves just how well-rounded he is. On the defensive glass, he's pulling down 4 rebounds per game, ranking ahead of 91% of players. That means he's making sure the Lakers secure stops and don't give up easy putbacks. And on the offensive end, he's an absolute monster. He's grabbing 2.1 offensive rebounds per game, which puts him ahead of 97% of the league. That's a game changer. He's extending possessions, getting easy buckets, and keeping pressure on opposing defenses. His offensive rebounding percentage is 13.57, meaning he's grabbing that percentage of available offensive rebounds when he's on the floor. That's an elite number. Not many players have the motor to go after those boards every single time, but Vanderbilt does it consistently. And when it comes to defensive rebounding percentage, he's still putting in work. His 22.5 defensive rebounding percentage shows that he's securing a massive chunk of available rebounds when he's on the floor. That ranks higher than 91% of players in the league. When the Lakers need to end a possession, Vanderbilt's the one making sure they do. Now, he's not a high usage guy, and that's totally fine. His usage rate is 10.9%, meaning he's not the one taking a ton of shots or running the offense, but that's not his role. He knows exactly what he needs to do to help the team, and he does it at a ridiculously high level. He's taking 3.1 shots per game, getting to the line for 0.7 free throws, and dishing out 1.2 assists. He's not out there trying to be the primary scorer, and that's what makes him so valuable. He plays within his role and maximizes every possession. Turnovers, he's keeping those under control too. He's only averaging 0.9 per game, which is impressive considering how much energy he expends on the other end. He's not making mistakes that hurt the team, and that's crucial for a role player who's primarily focused on defense and rebounding. And his net rating, absolutely ridiculous. He's got a plus 16.6 net rating, meaning the Lakers outscore their opponents by that much when he's on the floor. That's not just good, that's elite. It means his impact is undeniable, and the numbers back it up. Jared Vanderbilt is the glue that holds the Lakers' defense together. He's crashing the glass, locking down opponents, forcing turnovers, and making sure the team has a chance to win every time he steps on the court. His energy is contagious, and without him, this team would look completely different. But then I want to look at a guard. Jordan Goodwin has only played 3 games for the Lakers, but he's already showing exactly why they needed him. This guy is a pure spark off the bench. He's bringing energy, rebounding like a big man, and playing with the kind of hustle that every team needs. He reminds me a lot of Josh Hart, just a smaller guard who rebounds way better than he should. And right out of the gate, he's putting up 10 points per game. That's more than 66% of players in the league. That's impressive for a guy who's still figuring out his role on a new team. But what really stands out is how efficient he's been. His effective field goal percentage is a ridiculous 65.9. That means he's not just scoring, he's doing it at an incredibly high rate. He's getting 1.3 points per shot attempt, which is absurd for a bench guard. And if you want to talk about elite efficiency, look at his true shooting percentage, 68.2. That puts him ahead of 95% of the league. That means every time he takes a shot, it's a high quality look, and he's converting at an elite rate. He's hitting 3.32 pointers per game, knocking down 1 3 per game, and taking 7.3 shots overall. He's not forcing anything. He's taking smart shots, and he's making the most of every possession. Ball handling, he's steady. His ball handling ranking puts him ahead of 49% of the league, meaning he's right in the middle of the pack. He's not breaking ankles out there, but he's not turning the ball over either. And that's what really matters. He's averaging 1.3 assists per game and just 0.7 turnover. That's solid. He's making the right reads and not putting the Lakers in bad situations. His assist percentage is sitting at 8.33, meaning he's assisting on that percentage of his teammates' field goals while he's on the floor. It's not a huge number, but that's not his role. He's not running the offense. He's out there to bring energy, score efficiently, and crash the glass. He's assisting on an average of 3.7 points per game, which is lower than 83% of players. But again, he's not out there to rack up assists. He's making the right plays when needed, and that's enough. Now let's talk about how well he's taking care of the ball. His turnover percentage is just 7.14. That puts him ahead of 84% of the league. He's only turning it over 0.7 times per game. And considering he's taking over 7 shots per game and handling the ball a fair amount, that's impressive. He's not making mistakes. And that's huge for a bench spark plug. And then there's the rebounding. This is where he really stands out. He's averaging 5.3 rebounds per game, which is better than 87% of players. For a guard, that's insane. He's got that Josh Hart mentality, just going after every single board like he's 7 feet tall. On the defensive glass, he's pulling down 3.3 per game, which puts him ahead of 77% of players. He's boxing out bigger guys, tracking down long rebounds, and making sure the Lakers finish possessions. And on the offensive glass, even better, he's grabbing 2 per game, ranking ahead of 87% of the league. He's giving the Lakers second chance opportunities, and that's massive for a bench player. His offensive rebounding percentage is 8.96, meaning he's grabbing nearly 9% of all available offensive rebounds while he's on the floor. That's an elite number for a guard. Most guards don't even sniff those kinds of numbers, but Goodwin is just relentless. He's constantly crashing the boards, and it's paying off in a big way. His defensive rebounding percentage is sitting at 17.24, meaning he's grabbing a huge chunk of available defensive rebounds. That ranks him ahead of 77% of players. He's securing possessions, keeping the Lakers in control, and making sure they're not giving up second chance points. His usage rate is sitting at 15.5, meaning he's involved in a solid number of offensive plays when he's on the floor. He's taking 7.3 shots per game, getting to the free throw line a little at 0.3 attempts per game, dishing out 1.3 assists, and turning it over less than once per game. He's not dominating the ball, but he's making every possession count. And if you look at the total possessions he's played, he's sitting at 44.3 per game. That means in almost every minute he's on the floor, he's impacting the game in some way. Whether it's grabbing a rebound, knocking down a shot, or making a smart pass, he's constantly involved. Jordan Goodwin is exactly the kind of energy guy the Lakers needed. He's scoring efficiently, rebounding like a big man, taking care of the ball, and making hustle plays all over the floor. In just 3 games, he's already showing that he belongs. And if he keeps this up, he's going to be a crucial part of this bench rotation. But next, let's look at the Rook. Dalton Knecht has had a wild ride with the Lakers, but now that he's back, he's showing why they need him. After that trade to the Hornets for Mark Williams fell through, he's right back in the mix, and he's making the most of his minutes. He's putting up 9.4 points per game, ranking ahead of 63% of the league. That's solid scoring production for a guy still finding his role, and his efficiency has been even better. His effective field goal percentage is sitting at 57.5, which means he's scoring at a more efficient clip than 77% of players in the league. That's a big deal. He's getting 1.2 points per shot attempt, and that's exactly what you want from a bench scorer. He's knocking down 1.8 two-pointers per game, hitting 1.6 threes, and taking 7.4 shots overall. He's not wasting possessions, and he's keeping the Lakers' offense moving. And his true shooting percentage, 59.5. That puts him ahead of 72% of the league. That means he's not just scoring, he's doing it without forcing bad shots. He's getting 9.4 points per game on just 7.4 attempts, which is an incredible level of efficiency. And he's even getting to the free throw line a little, averaging 1.2 free throw attempts per game. He's not a volume scorer, but when he takes a shot, there's a good chance it's going in. Rebounding? He's doing his part. He's averaging 3 per game, which ranks ahead of 42% of the league. Not bad for a guy who's more of a perimeter player. He's pulling down 2.5 defensive rebounds per game, ranking higher than 53% of players. That means he's helping the Lakers secure stops and finish possessions. On the offensive glass, he's not making a huge impact, but he's still grabbing 0.5 per game. That puts him ahead of 30% of players. His offensive rebounding percentage is 2.53, meaning he's grabbing that percentage of available offensive boards when he's on the floor. He's not a dominant rebounder, but he's at least keeping possessions alive when he gets the chance. His defensive rebounding percentage is 12.02, meaning he's grabbing that percentage of available defensive rebounds when he's on the floor. That ranks ahead of 51% of the league. He's not the main rebounder, but he's pulling his weight. Now, let's talk about his usage rate. He's at 18.1, which means he's involved in a solid chunk of the Lakers' offense when he's on the floor. He's taking 7.4 shots per game, getting to the line for 1.2 free throws, dishing out 0.9 assists, and only turning the ball over half a time per game. He's not dominating possessions, but he's making every one of them count. His ball handling ranking puts him ahead of just 30% of players, so he's not exactly a primary creator, but that's not what the Lakers need him to be. He's out there to knock down shots, space the floor, and keep the offense moving. And he's doing that without making a lot of mistakes. His assist rate is sitting at 6.03, meaning he's assisting on that percentage of his teammates' field goals while on the floor. That ranks lower than 93% of players, so playmaking isn't his strong suit, but that's not his job. He's averaging 0.9 assists per game and assisting on about 2.1 points per game. He's not running the offense, but he's keeping the ball moving when needed. And turnovers, he's elite at avoiding them. His turnover percentage is just 5.29. That's better than 90% of players in the league. He's only turning the ball over 0.5 times per game, despite taking nearly 8 shots per game. That's exactly what you want from a bench scorer. He's taking care of the ball and not wasting possessions. And looking at his total possessions, he's playing 41.7 per game. That means every minute he's on the floor, he's making an impact. Whether it's scoring efficiently, securing rebounds, or keeping the ball moving, he's playing a valuable role. Dalton Knecht is proving he belongs with the Lakers. He's scoring at an efficient rate, making smart plays, avoiding mistakes, and doing his job perfectly within the team system. The trade might have fallen through, but the Lakers are the ones benefiting because they still have him. But then I want to look at the point guard, Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent might not be stuffing the stat sheet, but he's playing his role and giving the Lakers solid minutes. He's averaging 5.7 points per game, ranking ahead of 40% of the league. That's not a massive scoring output, but he's not out there to be a volume scorer. He's playing within the system, taking smart shots, and doing exactly what's needed. His effective field goal percentage is sitting at 53, which puts him ahead of 52% of players. That means he's converting his shots at an efficient rate, making sure he's not wasting possessions. He's putting up 1.1 points per shot attempt, and while it's not elite, it's still solid for a role player. He's hitting 0.9 two-pointers per game, knocking down 1.3 threes, and taking 5.2 total shots. He's not forcing bad looks, and that's what keeps him valuable in the lineup. His true shooting percentage is also sitting at 53, which ranks ahead of 32% of players. It's not lights out efficiency, but it's enough to keep defenses honest. He's taking 5.2 shots per game, getting to the free throw line a little with 0.2 attempts, and making sure every possession counts. Now, let's talk about his overall impact. His offensive rating is 114.1, meaning the Lakers are scoring at a solid rate when he's on the floor. And defensively, he's holding things down with a defensive rating of 113.1. That gives him a net rating of +1, meaning the team is slightly better when he's on the court. It might not seem like much, but every small edge counts, and his presence is making a positive difference. His plus-minus numbers are right at 50%, meaning half the time he's on the floor, the Lakers finish with a positive point differential. That's a good sign that he's not hurting the team when he's playing, and his on-off numbers show that when he's on the floor, the Lakers' point difference improves by 0.3. It's a small boost, but again, every little bit matters. Ball handling, he's steady. His ball handling ranking is at 53%, meaning he's right in the middle of the pack. He's not breaking down defenders off the dribble, but he's keeping things under control, which is exactly what you want from a role-playing guard, and he's doing a solid job of taking care of the ball. He's averaging 1.5 assists per game while only turning it over 0.6 times. His assist percentage is 9.68, meaning he's assisting on that percentage of his teammates' field goals while on the floor. It's not a high number, but he's still making sure the ball moves when needed. His playmaking isn't flashy, but he's still assisting on an average of 3.5 points per game. That puts him below 68% of players in the league, but again, he's not a primary creator. His job is to space the floor, hit open shots, and provide steady minutes. And he's doing exactly that. And his turnover numbers? Rock solid. His turnover percentage is 8.56, meaning he's only turning the ball over 8.56 times. Per 100 actions, he takes that finish a play. That's better than 68% of the league. He's only turning it over 0.6 times per game while taking 5.2 shots. So he's making sure he's not wasting possession. His usage rate is sitting at 12.9, meaning he's involved in a moderate number of offensive plays when he's on the floor. He's taking 5.2 shots per game, getting to the line for a couple of free throws, dishing out 1.5 assists, and turning it over just a little. He's not dominating possessions, but he's staying involved. And looking at his total possessions played, he's sitting at 41.5 per game. That means he's constantly active, making an impact on both ends, even if the box score doesn't always show it. Gabe Vincent isn't the flashiest player, but he's giving the Lakers exactly what they need. He's knocking down shots at a respectable rate, keeping turnovers low, playing solid defense, and making smart decisions. He might not put up big numbers, but he's helping the team in all the little ways that add up to winning basketball. But then let's talk about the new guy. Alex Len has only played one game for the Lakers so far, but he's already showing glimpses of what he can bring. He's not a flashy player, but he's a big body in the paint who can rebound, make smart passes, and hold his own in limited minutes. The Lakers aren't asking him to be a star, they just need him to play his role, and that's exactly what he's doing. His ball handling ranking is at 37%, which isn't great, but let's be honest. He's a 7-footer who's not expected to handle the ball much. His job is to set screens, grab rebounds, and protect the rim, and he's doing those things just fine. He's not out there trying to break down defenders off the dribble, so this ranking doesn't really mean much in terms of his actual impact on the game. One of the most surprising things about his first game, his passing. He's averaging 0.9 assists per game, which is better than 66% of players. That's a great sign for a big man. He's moving the ball, making the right reads, and setting up teammates for buckets. His assist percentage is a solid 16.75, meaning he's assisting on that percentage of his teammates' field goals while on the floor. That's actually a pretty high number for a center. He's not just a black hole in the post. He's making sure the offense keeps flowing when he gets touches. And the best part, he's not turning the ball over much either. His turnover percentage is 11.58, which means he's only turning the ball over that percentage of the time per 100 plays he's involved in. That puts him ahead of 72% of players. He's keeping mistakes to a minimum, which is exactly what you want from a role-playing big man. He's only averaging 0.3 turnovers per game, and that's a great number for a guy who's still getting used to his new team. Now, let's talk about his rebounding. He might not have played much yet, but he's already making an impact on the glass. He's averaging 2 rebounds per game, which ranks him ahead of 72% of players. That's solid, especially considering he's not getting major minutes yet. On the defensive glass, he's pulling down 1.2 rebounds per game, ranking ahead of 69% of players. He's making sure the Lakers secure stops and limit second chance opportunities for opponents. He's not dominating the boards, but he's doing his job. And on the offensive glass, even better, he's averaging 0.8 offensive rebounds per game, which puts him ahead of 86% of the league. That's huge. He's giving the Lakers extra possessions, fighting for loose balls, and keeping plays alive. His offensive rebounding percentage is 8.85, meaning he's grabbing nearly 9% of all available offensive rebounds while he's on the floor. That's a strong number, and it shows he's willing to do the dirty work inside. His defensive rebounding percentage is 15.28, which puts him ahead of 69% of players. He's making sure the Lakers control the boards, and that's an underrated skill for a backup big man. He's not racking up massive numbers, but he's securing key rebounds when needed. Now, let's talk about his offensive role. His usage rate is sitting at just 9.9, meaning he's not heavily involved in the offense. That's totally fine. The Lakers don't need him to take a ton of shots or create plays. They just need him to be efficient when he gets opportunities. He's taking just 1.3 shots per game, getting to the free throw line for 0.4 attempts, and dishing out nearly 1 assist. He's staying within his role and not trying to do too much. His total possessions played is at 15.8, meaning he's not getting a ton of action yet, but that could change as he gets more comfortable with the team. The Lakers don't need him to play heavy minutes, but when he's on the floor, he's contributing in small ways that add up. Alex Len is the kind of player who won't always show up in the box score, but he's doing the little things that help a team win. He's rebounding, making smart passes, avoiding mistakes, and playing within his role. He's not going to put up big scoring numbers, but that's not what the Lakers need from him. If he keeps playing this way, he could carve out a nice role in the rotation and be a reliable presence in the paint when the Lakers need size off the bench. But lastly, I want to talk about Shake Milton. Shake Milton is giving the Lakers exactly what they need off the bench. He's not a high volume scorer, but he's efficient, steady, and making an impact in multiple areas. He's putting up 6.1 points per game, ranking ahead of 44% of players. That might not sound like a huge number, but considering his role, it's solid production. He's not forcing shots, and he's making the most of his opportunities. His shooting efficiency has been strong too. His effective field goal percentage is sitting at 53.8, ranking ahead of 57% of players. That means he's converting his shots at an above average rate and making sure he's not wasting possessions. He's getting 1.1 points per shot attempt, and that's exactly what you want from a bench guard. And his true shooting percentage, 57.7. That puts him ahead of 62% of the league. He's scoring efficiently, taking smart shots, and making sure every possession counts. He's knocking down 1.4 two-pointers per game, hitting 0.8 threes, and taking 4.7 total shots. That's an elite level of efficiency for a role player who isn't getting a ton of volume. Now, where he really stands out is his ball handling. He's ranked ahead of 71% of players in that category, which means he's got solid control when he's running the offense. He's not just a shooter, he's capable of creating for himself and others, which makes him even more valuable off the bench. His assist numbers are solid too. He's averaging 2.1 assists per game, ranking ahead of 75% of players. That means he's keeping the ball moving, setting up teammates, and making the right reads when he gets the chance. His assist percentage is sitting at 19.69, meaning he's assisting on that percentage of his teammates' field goals while on the floor. That's a strong number for a guy who isn't the primary playmaker. He's assisting on an average of 5.3 points per game, which is a solid contribution for a bench guard. And turnovers? He's keeping those under control too. His turnover percentage is 9.14, meaning he's only turning the ball over that percentage of the time per 100 plays he's involved in. That's better than 57% of players. He's only averaging 0.7 turnovers per game, and considering he's handling the ball a fair amount, that's impressive. He's making sure he's not making costly mistakes, and that's exactly what you want from a steady ball handler. Rebounding? He's not a dominant presence on the glass, but he's doing his part. He's averaging 1.9 rebounds per game, ranking ahead of 23% of players. He's pulling down 1.4 defensive rebounds per game, ranking ahead of 42% of players, and grabbing 0.6 offensive boards per game. His offensive rebounding percentage is sitting at 3.37, meaning he's grabbing that percentage of available offensive rebounds when he's on the floor. It's not a massive number, but it's still solid for a guard. His defensive rebounding percentage is 8.74, meaning he's securing a respectable share of available defensive boards. That puts him ahead of 23% of players. He's not going to dominate the glass, but he's at least contributing in that area and making sure the Lakers aren't giving up second chance points. His usage rate is sitting at 16.4, meaning he's involved in a fair number of offensive plays when he's on the floor. He's taking 4.7 shots per game, getting to the line for 1.2 free throw attempts, dishing out 2.1 assists, and turning it over just a little. He's not dominating possessions, but he's staying active. And looking at his total possessions played, he's at 32.2 per game. That means he's constantly engaged, making an impact on both ends and playing a valuable role off the bench. Whether it's scoring, playmaking, or rebounding, he's doing a little bit of everything to help the Lakers. Shake Milton is exactly the kind of steady presence every team needs off the bench. He's efficient, careful with the ball, and capable of making plays when needed. He's not going to put up massive numbers, but he's doing all the little things that help a team win. If he keeps this up, he's going to be a key piece in the Lakers' rotation. Overall, though, the Lakers bench is a mix of everything a team needs. Dalton Knecht is the flamethrower, a pure scorer who can heat up in an instant. When the offense stalls, he's the guy who can come in and give the team instant buckets. But he's not just a scorer. He spaces the floor, forcing defenses to respect his shot and opening up lanes for guys like Jordan Goodwin to attack. Goodwin is the perfect backcourt complement, bringing relentless energy, scrappy rebounding, and the kind of hustle that changes games. He's not just out there to put up numbers. He's outworking guys for extra possessions, diving for loose balls, and making sure the Lakers never lose their edge. And when it comes to control, that's where Gabe Vincent comes in. He's the steady hand, the organizer of the offense, keeping things flowing and making sure the right players get their shots in the right spots. He's not flashy, but his impact is huge. Without him, the offense can get stagnant. But with him on the floor, guys like Knecht and Milton get the looks they need to do what they do best: score. And speaking of scoring, Milton is the guy who can get buckets when they need a spark. He's smooth, efficient, and doesn't force anything. He's the type of player who can slide into any lineup and find a way to contribute without disrupting the flow of the game. But every bench needs balance, and that's where Jared Vanderbilt and Alex Len come in. Vanderbilt is the defensive heartbeat, the guy who does everything that doesn't show up in the box score, but absolutely changes games. He's locking down opponents, switching on to anyone, disrupting plays, and making sure the Lakers have a backbone on defense. His rebounding and defensive instincts allow guys like Vincent and Goodwin to take risks on the perimeter, knowing they have Vanderbilt behind them to clean up any mistakes. And when it comes to controlling the paint, that's where Len makes his presence felt. He might not be the biggest scorer, but he's an interior force, grabbing boards, setting screens, and making sure the Lakers aren't getting bullied in the paint. He's the perfect balance to the perimeter-heavy second unit, giving them an anchor inside when they need to slow the game down and get a tough bucket in the post. What makes this bench so special isn't just that they each have defined roles, it's how those roles fit together. Knecht's shooting makes life easier for Vincent as a playmaker. Vincent's control allows Milton to focus on scoring. Milton's offensive spark complements Goodwin's hustle. Goodwin's rebounding helps Vanderbilt lock in defensively. Vanderbilt's ability to guard multiple positions gives Len a safety net inside, and Len's presence in the paint lets the guards play more aggressively, knowing there's a big body down low to protect the rim. Every piece of this bench plays off the other, creating a unit that's not just effective, but dangerous. There's no one-dimensional player in this group. They all bring something unique to the table, and that's why they work so well together. Some nights, Knecht might be the one catching fire, hitting 3 after 3 and forcing defenses to adjust. Other nights, Goodwin's energy and rebounding might be the difference between a win and a loss. When the Lakers need someone to settle things down, Vincent's there to take control. And when they need a bucket, Milton is more than capable of delivering. If a team tries to attack the paint, Vanderbilt and Len are right there to shut it down. The best part? This unit still has room to grow. Vincent is still finding his rhythm. Knecht is adjusting to the NBA game. Goodwin is proving he deserves consistent minutes. And Len is just getting started in the rotation. But even as they figure things out, the foundation is there. They've got shooting, defense, rebounding, playmaking, and hustle. All the ingredients of a bench that can swing games and help the Lakers stay competitive no matter who's on the floor. It's not just about numbers with this group, it's about impact. There's no weak link in this bench unit. They complement each other in every way, and they play with a level of effort and intensity that makes them one of the most valuable second units in the league. Whether it's Knecht lighting it up, Goodwin outworking everyone, Vincent orchestrating the offense, Milton getting buckets, Vanderbilt locking down the other team's best player, or Len controlling the paint, the Lakers know they can count on their bench to step up and deliver. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.